guys, and welcome to a new video. So today we're going to be talking about porosity, density, and strand thickness. What is it? How can you use it to figure out what products will work for your hair? Is it better than curl type? Do we need curl type? I will be answering all those questions in this video. This is going to be your one-stop shop to figuring out what your porosity is, what your density is, what your strand thickness is, and how to use this to better your curls. So if you want to know more about this, keep on watching. Alrighty, so first let's talk about this chart. This is the curl type chart. You will often hear your favorite influencer, Instagrammer, or Facebook group member. If you're in a curly Facebook group, I have one down below. But anyways, you will hear them say, I have 3B curls. What products would work best for me? And you'll see a list of products of people that have also 3B curls that'll suggest said products. And this is a very flawed question and system because your porosity, your density, and strand thickness can vary immensely in one curl type. So you could have 3B curls and have completely different hair than me, even if I also have 3B curls. So unfortunately, it doesn't work the way that people think, whereas if I have 3B and you have 3B, the products that we both use will for sure work for me. That's just not the case. Unfortunately, curl type literally does nothing when it comes to figuring out what products works for you, what doesn't work for you, and really just how to take care of your curls. Curl type literally only means the shape of your curls. That's it. That's all the info it is. So next time you are looking for product suggestions, enter your porosity, your density, and your strand thickness, which you will find out right now. So first, let's talk about porosity. So porosity essentially means the way that your hair absorbs and retains moisture. Your porosity dictates how well moisture penetrates the top layer of your hair, also known as the cuticle. So let's explain the types of porosities. Imagine my arm is a strand of hair. This is your cuticle, kind of like shingles on a roof. Now depending on your porosity, it'll be out here, down here, or really tight here. So first type of porosity is high porosity. High porosity's characteristics are a very loose, wide cuticle. There's a fly. High porosity is a very loose and wide cuticle. You can see it's not sitting and touching the actual hair strand very tightly. So that means that when you hop in the shower, your hair probably gets wet pretty instantly because there's this gap. It allows tons of moisture to enter your hair. But on the downside, since there is this gap, it also allows moisture to fall out. So if you have hair that gets wet very easily, but also dry very easily and doesn't retain moisture well, you probably have high porosity. A lot of people have high porosity due to damage, heat, straightening perms, I forgot the word, what's the relaxers, that's the one. And a lot of people truly don't actually naturally have high porosity. Some people do, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people that do actually have high porosity, it is due to something you did to your hair. So that's just something to keep in mind. Not a bad thing, again, we can work with it, we can totally work with it, but just a little bit of info. Now let's talk about medium porosity. That is actually my porosity. So medium porosity's cuticle lays right in between. So it's not too high, but it's not too low. Medium porosity allows moisture to enter pretty easily, not super duper easily. It takes maybe a minute to get your hair soaking wet in the shower or when you're wetting it, like at the pool or the beach, for example. But since it's not as open as high porosity, medium porosity allows moisture to hold on a bit better and stick onto your hair. So if you have medium porosity, your hair probably holds on to moisture pretty well. You don't have a tough time managing it and keeping it pretty hydrated. Last, low porosity. So low porosity is where the cuticle lays super flat onto your hair. If you have low porosity, your hair probably takes a long time to get fully saturated in the shower, and it doesn't look like it's soaking wet probably. It probably still almost looks like your hair is a little dry, but it's not. It just is such a tight cuticle that moisture has such a hard time penetrating into your hair that even though it's wet, it just rolls off. If you find that you spray your hair, especially when there's no product on it and you get these beads of water, that's a really big sign that you have low porosity. Also, low porosity hair takes a bit to dry because once moisture does enter this, this is really tight. It's not gonna get out very quickly. So if your hair takes forever to dry, you probably have low porosity. Next is hair density. This essentially means the overall individual strands you have on your entire head. This one's pretty simple. So if you have high density, you have a lot of hair. Individual strand wise, you have a ton. It's everywhere. You don't feel like you are lacking any hair. When you part your hair, you don't see a ton of your scalp, if any. That is high density. Then there is medium density. Medium density basically means that you're in the middle. You don't have a little bit of hair, but you don't have a ton. You're right in the middle. The majority of people will be medium density. And last is low density. That means that you don't really have a ton of hair, especially when you put it in a ponytail. Your hair isn't gonna really look like a lot. It looks like you don't have a lot of hair. Most people will understand what the density is pretty quickly. Last is strand thickness. This means the overall individual strand of your hair. This can get a bit confusing, so I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. So if you have fine strand thickness, your individual strand is baby fine. When you hold it between your fingers, it's almost like it's invisible. You can't feel it. Like if you close your eyes, you don't feel the strand. That is fine. Next is medium strand thickness. Now, medium strand thickness is again sort of in the middle. It's not super fine, it's not super coarse, it's just right there in the middle. You can definitely feel the strand when you touch it in between your fingers, but it feels pretty malleable and soft. Last is coarse strand thickness. I'm sort of in between medium and coarse. So coarse strand thickness is where you can hold the strand, you can feel it. It feels thick, it feels slightly rough possibly, and it doesn't feel as malleable. That is strand thickness. So now I know you're thinking, Isabella, what do I do with this information? Well, it really is depending on what your answer is. So for example, I have medium porosity. I'll say high density because my hair is definitely closer to high than it is medium. High density and medium strand thickness. That means my hair absorbs moisture pretty well. I can deep condition. You don't really need to use heat to allow that moisture to penetrate into my hair. I have a lot of hair, so I can use rich, buttery, oil-based, and creamy products to really help add some definition and moisture to my hair. I also have high density, which means that I do need a good amount of product to style. But let's do this with something completely opposite to me. So let's say you have low density, low porosity, and let's do fine strand thickness. Since you have low density and fine strand thickness, both of these are very thin, light, and airy hair. You do not want to be packing this type of hair with butters, creams, very heavy products. You want to be using something light, watery, very, very thin, nothing very heavy on your hair. Since you have low porosity in the mix, you're going to want to use heat when deep conditioning. Something like the Hot Heads Thermal Heat Cap is a great option for you. Using that every time you deep condition will allow that cuticle to slightly loosen just enough to allow more moisture to enter. So this is how you apply this info. For the most part, if you have fine hair and not a lot of it, so low density, you're gonna wanna stick to lighter products. But of course, this is not the case always. It really just depends. Experimentation is 100% key, but I hope that me explaining your porosity, your density, and your strand thickness really helped you narrow it down a little bit more. There are so many types of hair. I can find someone that has 3A, 3B curls, medium porosity, high density, and medium strand thickness, just like me, but she could have way more hair than I do. It is a vast world of curls out there, so this just helps narrow it down just a tad bit more so you can at least get an idea of what may or may not work for you. So next time you're looking for some curly product recommendations, instead of saying 2C, 2A, say your porosity, your density, and your strand thickness. And I promise that's the last time I'm going to be doing this. I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing this, I'm sure. A lot of fun. That is it for today's video. I really hope this thoroughly helped you guys. A lot of you guys have been asking me about it in my Facebook group especially, as well as my Instagram, and I really wanted to take the time to make a video and explain it all to you instead of just typing it up. I know it's a little bit easier probably to actually see someone talking to you and explaining it to you one by one. If you have any questions about porosity, density, and strand thickness, go ahead and enter that in the comments down below. And of course, as usual, if you have any other questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments down below. below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I make new videos every single week, and I will be linking all my other social medias, my Instagram, my Facebook group. What else do I have? I don't know. Other stuff down bar below. And that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a beautiful day. And don't forget, your frizz is gorgeous. Bye. So curl type really just doesn't help anyone in this situation. It doesn't help you because you're just giving them. It's like saying my hair is black. It's pretty much like that. Like, my hair is black, what products are gonna work for me? And someone's like, well, I also have black hair and this is what works for me. It's basically the same thing. It's not gonna give you any helpful information, and you're not really narrowing down the search whatsoever. So how can you figure out what's gonna work best for you? With porosity, density, and strand thickness. I love doing that, sorry.